At the start of 2024, I decided to follow my dreams of making it in the fitness industry, and I moved all the way from Germany to the United States of America. At this point, I had been working out for over 4 years seriously. And when I say seriously, I mean doing the research on nutrition, on training, on everything that you need to know in order to make the most progress possible. Before that, I had been going to the gym. I was working out, maybe once or twice a week, but I didn't know anything about it and how it worked. Now, at the point where I arrived in the United States, I had just finished up a 1.5 year long bulking phase with the goal of gaining as much muscle mass as possible. Now, in my first workout overseas, I suffered a partial chest tear, which alongside an adductor injury that I was already dealing with, kept me away from really working out for 3 months. Now, in my very first workout overseas, I suffered a partial chest tear, which alongside an adductor injury I was already dealing with, kept me away from really working out for 3 months. And this frustrated me so much that I just didn't care anymore. I didn't care about what I was eating, so I gained 30 pounds in just those 3 months where I couldn't work out. And this led me to be in the worst shape of my entire life. But once I was able to return to the gym, it only took me 6 months of time to lose all the fat I had gained and to rebuild all the muscle mass and strength that I had lost during that period where I couldn't work out. And I documented my whole journey online. And when people saw my transformation, a lot of them accused me of taking steroids, which is absolutely not true. And in reality, all I had to do was just use the knowledge that I already had from the years of experience before that, get on structured meal plans and workout programs to get back into the best shape of my life. In one of my last videos, I already covered exactly how you can structure your own meal plans. So if you haven't watched that yet, please go ahead, check it out and take notes. Now, in this video, however, we will cover something that is equally as important as the meal plans, and that is how you can structure your own workout programs completely from scratch. And we are also going to dive into how you have to train, because a lot of people, they misunderstand this aspect. And that is also the reason why they are missing out on a lot of progress that they could be making. In this video, I will give you the exact step-by-step guideline I use to make my own workout programs, but the one that I also use to make my clients' workout programs to help them get into the best shape of their lives. At the end of this video, you will know exactly how to set up your own workout programs completely individualized and customized to your current situation and your goals, so that you can make more progress than ever before. So pay attention, sit down, take notes and actually apply the steps that I give you in this video. But without waiting any longer, let's jump right into it. Before you do anything else, you have to understand your current situation, all right? And with that, I mean, you have to understand what equipment you actually have available. Are you going to the gym? Are you going to train from home? Do you just have a pull-up bar? Maybe just a dip bar? Whatever it is, write it down, okay? Write down all the equipment that you have, and once you have collected that, then you can use all that equipment to make up the exercises that you're going to fill your workout program with. This is the first thing that I start with when someone new joins Team Dedication Coaching. I tell them to send over a video of their gym, or maybe they have a homepage where you can see all the equipment, and then I watch the video, I check out the homepage, I take notes, all right? I write down all the machines that I would like to include into their workout program, and that way I'm not missing out on any opportunities that we have with this. Obviously, some of you will have more equipment available than others, but don't worry about that, because you can make so much progress with limited equipment if you're using the right programming, which we will dive into a little bit later. Now also ask yourself which exercises you can and cannot do, all right? If you had an injury in the past, maybe you're not able to squat with free weights at the moment. Instead of doing that, you would do a leg press. So also write down the exercises that you can't do. And then lastly, also ask yourself, what are your favorite exercises? If you've already been working out, there might be some exercises that you actually enjoy doing. And it's super important that you include those into your workout programs. You can literally build your whole workout program around those exercises, like I do with my own workout programs all the time. Because if you're not having fun with the workouts that you're doing, if you go to the gym and you're thinking to yourself, man, like I don't want to do this exercise, right? It's not going to work out for you. Okay, you have to have fun with the workouts that you do in order to keep progressing. And I, for example, like to do squat, bench and deadlift. I train for strength a lot, which is why I include those exercises into my programs all the time. And then I just build the rest of the workout program around those exercises. So make sure that you write down all the equipment that you have available, all the nice machines that your gym might have. Then also the exercises that you can or cannot do, and then also your favorite exercises which you would absolutely love to include into the workout program. Now, once you've completed the first step, it is time to figure out the workout split that you're going to run with this program. In this video, in a second, I will walk you through an example. We will build a workout program from scratch with all the information that I'm about to give you. But a general rule of thumb is that you want to train each muscle group twice per week. So this should be a frequency. Now, you can go more than that if you want to. There's so many different splits available that you could do, but make sure that you split it up in a way that you're actually hitting each muscle group twice per week, all right? All of you probably know the standard bro split that I used to do myself when I first started out, and you had your classic chest day on Monday, then you had, back day on Tuesday, arm day on Wednesday, and even with a split like that, you can make progress. But the problem is that by cramping all of your volume into one workout, you're just reaching the point where a lot of that volume becomes junk volume. Just to give you that explanation real quick, junk volume is when you have so many sets of chest in one workout that by the end of that workout, the fatigue in your chest is already so high that you're not even able to move the weight effectively anymore. So that is why you want to split it up into 2 workouts instead. Now, you can imagine that if you have 8 sets of chest in one workout and then 8 sets of chest in another workout, you're going to have so much more energy in that workout for the chest sets and then also in that workout for the chest sets compared to when you're doing all 16 sets of chest in one workout, right? The 8 sets that you do at the very end, you're not going to have any energy left in your chest to actually push on those sets. Now, if you're doing a higher frequency than 2, it is important that you drop the volume even more. So continuing with the example I just gave you, if you do 16 sets of chest in total per week, splitting it up into 2 would be a volume of 2, right? Maybe you have 1 push day and then 1 upper body day. But if you split that up into 3 sessions, you wouldn't do 8 sets of chest in one and then 8 in another and then 8 in another. You would take those 16 total sets and divide that by 3 so that each workout has the same amount of sets, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to recover from one workout to the other. Your chest would still be sore and it would be impossible for you to make progress as well. Now you also have to ask yourself, how many days a week do you want to train? All right, I want to say 3 is the absolute minimum. You can make progress doing 3 workouts per week with the right training split. If you do a full body split where you're just training a lot with compound movements, you have 1 workout on Monday, 1 on Wednesday, and then maybe 1 on Saturday, you're still going to hit each muscle group at least twice per week, and you can get a lot of volume done in those sessions. But that is the bare minimum, and it really only works if you're having everything else optimized. But I would rather have you do 4 workouts per week as a minimum and no more than 6, right? If you train 7 times a week, your body just won't be able to recover from that volume at all. And a lot of people fall into that trap. You know, they train too much. They think doing a lot of work will actually give them the best results, but it's quite the opposite. Your body still needs time in between workouts to actually recover from what you do in those workouts, and that's when you grow the muscle as well. So doing 7 is way too much. Doing 6 is only okay if you have the right split. And what I found to be the absolute best split is having 5 workouts per week. Now, for me personally, the push-pull legs upper lower split is the absolute best split that I've ever ran in my lifting career, and I will also use that split as an example in this video. Now, what I have right here on my screen is a complete coaching template that I use myself to make my own workout programs and meal plans and all of that stuff, but that I also use for my coaching clients. And in this video, I'm going to use this to walk you through how exactly you can make your own workout programs from scratch. Now, in this example, I'm going to use the push-pull legs upper-lower split. So that's the first thing that we're going to write down right here next to the program split. So you want to have your push-pull legs upper-lower, then that's going to be 2 rest days per week. And then when it comes to the daily step goal, I like to have at least 10k steps. You know, if you've been watching my content, you know that I like to have the step goal. 10k steps to burn more calories in the cutting phase, but also to boost recovery, because it promotes blood flow in your whole body, and that just helps a lot with recovery. So you want to have at least 10k every single day on training days as well as on rest days. Now, if we were to do any cardio, you would fill it out right there, but we are going to leave that empty because we're going to focus completely on hypertrophy, so muscle building with this workout program. Now, when it comes to this split, you can then put it into a workout routine that you do every single week. So say day 1 is Monday, right? We can start off by having our push workout on Monday, then pull on a Tuesday, followed by a leg day on Wednesday, rest day on Thursday, then we have upper body on Friday and lower body on Saturday, and then another rest day on Sunday. And obviously this could look different for you as well. All right, you could do a full upper lower split where on Monday you have an upper body workout, then on Tuesday you have a lower body workout, then you have a rest day, and then you have upper body again and lower body again. So there's really a lot of options and variety on how you can make your own workout programs, and a lot of different splits work. But as I said, this one has been the best for me, so that is why we are using it in this example. Now, when it comes to the push workout, this is going to be all your pushing muscles in your upper body. So your chest, your shoulder, and then also your triceps. Your pull workout is going to have all the pulling muscles in your upper body. So this is going to be your biceps, your rear delts, so the back end of your shoulder, and then all of your back muscles. Leg day, obviously, is all lower body. Then you have your rest day in between those sessions right here. And upper body includes all the muscles in your upper body. So you're going to hit chest, shoulders, back, triceps, biceps, all of that stuff. And then the last workout of the week is going to be lower body. And again, this is just all of your lower body, basically the same thing as a leg day, and then you have a rest day on Sunday. Now, this split is so good because it allows us to recover in between workouts very efficiently. With the push workout, we have, the pushing muscles, right, on Monday. And then the pull workout are completely different muscle groups. These are your antagonists to the push workout, meaning that when we are training push, none of those pull muscles are involved into those movements, and they are still fresh on the second day. That is also why we can train back-to-back upper body workouts at the start of the week. Now then, going into your leg day, obviously it isn't affected at all by your push and pull workouts, and then you have a rest day, and then comes your upper body day. Now in between the second upper body workout of the week and that upper body day on day 5, you have 2 days where you're not working your upper body at all. So you have so much time to recover in between those workouts, and you should be ready to go on this upper body day without feeling sore in any of those parts at all. And then on Saturday, the lower body workout, again, you have 2 rest days in between where, you know, this isn't really a rest day, but you're still not training your lower body on that day. So you should be fully recovered going into this lower body workout at the end of the week from the leg day that we had previously, and therefore you should be able to push it super, super hard in this workout as well. Then you have a rest day before you head into the next week, and then the whole thing repeats itself the following week. Now, this split is so nice because you have your workouts on set days all the time. So you know that on Monday you have this workout, on Tuesday you have this workout, and as I already said, you have so much time to recover in between those sessions. You have a frequency of 2, meaning that each muscle group is hit twice per week, and then you also have enough days to fill up those workouts with a good amount of volume. Okay, now that our workout split is set in stone, it is time to fill it up with the right exercises. And as I said at the very start of this video, you should definitely include your favorite exercises into the routine because it should be fun for you to train. That's the most important thing, right? If it's a drag to go to the gym, you won't enjoy it enough to actually push and follow through on this journey. So make it fun for yourself, but also make sure that you're using the right exercises in this selection. Now honestly, there's a lot to cover and go through right here. Maybe I will go into the very details of this in another video, but I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what you should include for every single muscle group. Now when it comes to chest, you should have 2 different pressing exercises. One should be a flat press and one should be an incline press. Then adding to that, you should also have a chest fly where you're bringing your arms inward, because that is actually what your chest muscles are responsible for, to bringing your arms inwards. Now when it comes to the pressing exercises, if you can find a machine that allows you to go from the outside to the inside, that is really, really good. Also, you can do this with dumbbells, but then you should also have one chest exercise where you're just pressing out like this, because it just allows you to move more weight. And as you're going to learn later in the video, mechanical tension is also really important when it comes to working out. So for chest, you want to have 2 pressing exercises, one for incline, one for flat, and then also a chest fly. And you should make sure that at least one of those pressing exercises is a converging one that goes from the outside to the inside at the very end. Now moving on to back, you want to have a close grip row, a wide grip row, a close grip pull down, a wide grip pull down, and then maybe a pull over. Now with all of those different exercises, obviously there's a lot of variations that you can choose for each exercise, and one that I would like to talk about is a chest supported row, especially a chest supported wide grip row, because when you have the chest support, it allows you to use it as a resistance. And with a wide grip row, it is very important that you actually protract and retract your shoulder blade. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you right here. Protraction and retraction means that you're letting your shoulder blade move forward, and as you might imagine right now, when you have the chest support holding you right here, it's way easier for you to actually let it move forward. Then you're pulling it back, and this activates your trap muscles right back there super efficiently. Now, you don't have to have the chest support. You can also do this on a basic cable row, wide grip for example, but the chest support makes it a whole lot easier. So again, wide grip row, I would definitely use chest support right here, but you can also do it with, you know, a barbell or even a cable. Then a close grip row, wide grip pull down, close grip pull down, and pull over. When it comes to the rows and the pull downs in general, because you have a pull workout and an upper body workout, which, you know, we're going to fill up in a second here, you can do isolated movements as well. And I would definitely encourage you to do so with all of these exercises, because this keeps you away from developing imbalances in your body. Both sides are equally trained when you're doing isolated movements. So just to give you an example, when you're doing a row, right, you can do a barbell row and both sides are pulling the weight at the same time. Now, when you're doing isolated, you can do a dumbbell row where you train one side first and then the other side after that. And as I said, this allows you to really hit each side with the same amount of reps and volume. Now, after that, we have shoulder. And when it comes to shoulder, it's kind of interesting because I think you do not need an overhead pressing movement, all right? Because when you're training chest, you're already having that front delt, like the shoulder has 3 delts. You have your front delt, side delt, and rear delt. Now, when you're pressing, your front delt is already very involved into those movements. It's taking over some of that, and that's overlap volume. But again, I'm not going to touch on that in this video. Don't want to make it too complicated. Just wanted to give you that explanation real quick, but that is, the reason why your front delt is also involved in those pressing movements. Now, we don't need any front delt exercises here. All we need is side delts. So you want to have a lateral raise, and you also want to have something for your rear delts, like a reverse fly or a face pull works as well. When it comes to the side lateral raises, there's so many different variations where you have different tension on the cable than you have with a dumbbell, and you should use at least 2 different variations in your workout program as well. When it comes to triceps, you should have a push down, you should have an overhead extension, and then you should also have a close grip press. And again, you should do isolated movements as well as compound movements where both sides are working alongside each other at the same time. With biceps, you want to have behind body curls, you want to have front body curls, and then you also want to have hammer curls where your wrist is supinated to hit the brachialis more. That's kind of laying underneath your 2 biceps heads. Biceps, biceps means that you have 2 biceps heads, your long head and your short head, and when you really shred it, you can kind of actually see what that looks like. I'll show you a picture right here. And with the triceps, you have 3 different heads: your long head, your lateral head, and your medial head. Now, moving on to quads, it's a little bit easier. You want to have different squat variations. So this could be a leg press, this could be a squat, this could be a hack squat, this could be a pendulum squat, whatever it is. And you want to have variation in your foot stance, because a closer and lower stance on, let's say, for example, a hack squat will give you more knee flexion, which means that your quad is going to be more involved into that movement in general compared to a wider squat that's higher up. This will involve more of your glutes. Alongside different squatting variations, you want to include the leg extensions here. When it comes to hamstrings, it's also pretty similar. You want to have at least 1 curl, and preferably the seated leg curl. And then you also want to have 1 form of hip hinge. In my opinion, Romanian deadlifts are the absolute best form of hitting this. And then for glutes, you would also work with hip hinging movements, such as a hip thrust, for example, if you really want to isolate and overload the glutes. But the Romanian deadlift is working your glutes as well. Even a squat is working your glutes if you're using a wider stance, which is also why a lot of powerlifters have such big glutes and strong glutes as well, because they use them a lot when they squat low bar, for example. And then also for glutes, you just want to have a kickback to isolate the glute even more. And you can also do an abductor to hit that upper glute as well. Also, you can include, or you should include, some adductor movement. You probably have a machine at your gym, but if you're squatting wide and deep enough, you don't necessarily need it. Then for abs, you want to have at least 1 crunching motion and then 1 leg raise to hit your lower abs. The crunches are going to hit your upper abs more, and you could possibly do something for your obliques as well, something like a Russian twist or wood choppers on the cable. And then the last thing, obviously the most important muscle group that we still need to cover, are your calves. Okay, in my opinion, all you need for calves are just standing calf raises. That's pretty much it. You can do them on a machine, you can do them on a Smith machine, you can do them free weight, you can do them, on a bench, you can do them wherever you want. But just make sure that you still hit your calves, because at the end of the day, they are also a muscle that needs to be trained in order to develop. Now, with all of that being said, I'm going to go back into the workout program right here, fill it out with exercises for myself using that push-pull legs upper lower split, and then get back to you and explain to you exactly what I did right there. So actually the first workout I'm going to do with you right here, just to show you how it should be done. So for the exercises, you should have your list. I don't have the list right now, but you should have your list with all the exercises that you can use in that workout program and also the ones that you want to include. Now, in my case, I told you I like bench, squat, and deadlift. Usually I train for strength on these, but in this case I'm going to go fully with hypertrophy, so muscle building. Now, I'm going to start this one off with the regular bench press, then I'm going to do incline dumbbell press. I'm going to keep it pretty basic here. Machine chest flies, and this already covers all of the chest exercises that I mentioned before, right? We have one flat pressing movement, then we have one incline pressing movement, and then we have one chest fly, where with the flat pressing movements we are staying in the same lane. With the incline press we are converging at the end, and with the machine chest flies we are converging as well. Write down the muscle groups, and then at the end of the week in that upper body workout I'm just going to add more chest exercises to fill up the total volume, which I'm going to cover with you here in a second. Now, after that we can move on to triceps. We're just going to do some straight bar push downs right here, triceps. Then after that we are going to do some overhead extensions, isolated, also triceps. And then all that's really left after that is just some side delt exercises. We can also include some abs into this workout and then have the next ab session on that leg day. So here we could do basic side lateral raises with dumbbells. This would be for your side delts. And then after that maybe just a side delt machine. Again, side delts to get some more volume in, and then after that we can do cable crunches for abs, and this would be the whole workout for that push session. So we have 8 exercises in total. You're going to see which muscle group is hit by those exercises, and this is basically the skeleton of your workout program. Now I'm going to do that for every single workout that we have in the week and then get back to you guys. Okay, so the base skeleton of this workout program is fully done. Now I'm going to show you real quick exactly what I did and what kind of exercises I choose. Now, the first workout, you already know about this, right? We have the bench press. We're covering all of the exercises that we need for chest. Now, after that, straight bar push downs, overhead extensions, isolated, side lateral, side delt machine, cable crunches. That is perfect. Moving on to the pull workout, we have wide grip pull-ups, one of the pull exercises or back exercises that we wanted to include. Then we have a T-bar row, which essentially is a chest supported row with a wide grip. This is going to allow you to hit your traps efficiently. After that, we have a close grip dumbbell row, which is going to hit your lats in an isolated way. Then we have cable pullovers to finish off back in this workout to really fire up those lats one more time. And we're getting a good amount of volume for your back end right there. We're hitting both lats and traps in this workout. After that, we have incline curls, which are going to hit your biceps. Then we have hammer preacher curls, which are essentially preacher curls with your wrists supinated so that you are going to hit your brachialis on it as well. Then we have reverse flies on the machine, hitting your rear delts as well. Now, moving on to the leg day, we have seated leg curls for your hamstrings, also to just get some blood flowing before you go into your first heavy squatting movement. I like to do this because it really allows me to prime my body for that heavy weight. Now after that, I included, one of my other favorites, which is a low bar squat. And on this one, we're hitting mostly quads and glutes. With the low bar squat, there is more hip hinge involved, which is why in that next workout at the end of the week, that lower body workout, I made sure that we're getting more knee flexion so that we can actually hit our quads more than just with the low bar. But after that, with the Bulgarian split squats, if we choose a closer stance, if we have the foot closer to our body and we have more knee flexion, we're also going to do that. So that is what we're going to do on the Bulgarians right here. Then after that, we have Romanian deadlifts for our hip hinging movement to hit hamstrings and glutes at the same time and be able to overload those quite effectively, because on an RDL you can use a lot of weight. leg extensions. After that, we have standing calf raises and then hanging leg raises. As I said, these are going to hit your lower abs. The cable crunches that we had earlier are going to hit your upper abs more. So you already get the best of both worlds here. And then we have the upper body workout, starting off with an incline press machine. This can be converging, this can be non-converging, whatever you have available at your gym. Then we have a flat dumbbell press. This one is converging and super great movement because you can get so much range of motion in with a dumbbell press. And then after that we have dips, which are going to hit our triceps as a pressing movement, but then also our lower chest, which makes this such a great movement. And I also included it because I like it a lot. It's something that I've done, you know, at the very start of my lifting journey here at home, and I still like to do it because of that. Also a great movement to overload because you can use extra weight like a weighted vest or something like that, and yeah, overload this quite effectively. After that we have a closed grip cable row for your lats. Then we have isolated lat pull downs to get some isolation work done in the pull down area. Remember, we already have the dumbbell row, which is going to have, you know, that effect on the rowing motion. Now we have it for the pull down motion. So everything is covered with this workout program. Then we have straight bar cable curls, easy bar overhead extensions, which instead of the isolated overhead extensions allow you to overload that triceps a little bit more. Whenever you choose between isolated movements and then compound movements, like in this case the easy bar overhead extensions where you're using both hands at the same time, you're going to be able to use more weight, which is also why, you know, you want to have a mix of both. The isolated ones are great for isolating the muscle, for working against those imbalances, but the compounded ones are way better for really overloading that muscle with a lot of weight. After that you have laying Y raises, which is one of my favorite side delt exercises because it really allows you to work fully with that side delt. Now after that we are covering our adductors. We have some sumo deadlifts, which are also included because they are one of my favorite exercises. Then we have hack squats, which are going to be completely focused on your quads with a close and narrow stance. More leg extension. Don't be afraid of having, you know, some exercises in there multiple times. If they are effective at what they do and you actually like doing them, definitely include them multiple times. After that, seated leg curls, standing calf raises, and then we have cable wood choppers to get some obliques going at the end of that workout. But yeah, as you were able to see, we pretty much took care of all the exercises that we needed in this workout program. And now it's time to fill out the rest of that workout program with sets and then also rep ranges to make up the total volume for the week. Okay, with the base skeleton of our workout program in place, it is now time to fill it out with reps and sets. And this can really make or break a workout program. And most people out there are doing way too much volume, which they are incapable of recovering from. And that is also why so many aren't able to make any progress, even though they think they are on a pretty good workout program. Now, the most important thing to remember here is that every single set that you do in this workout program should be executed with high intensity. You should push this working set close to muscular failure, because if you don't, you're missing out on so much stimulus and you're just wasting a lot of time not training to failure. You could be training so much more efficiently if you actually push those sets further. So that is what you want to keep in mind, all right? And with that being said, the total volume that we're going to do per week isn't going to be a crazy amount of sets. I'm going to share with you in a second here a volume chart which shows you exactly the ranges that you should be working with when it comes to the total volume per week. But overall, make sure that you're training with high intensity, push those working sets close to failure, and this will also allow you to keep the workouts pretty short and to not have to do as much volume, as some other people. Okay guys, so right here we have the volume chart I was just talking about. And on the left hand side you can see the body part, then you can see the volume recommendation from people who have been in the field for years, who have done research, who have done studies with people, and This is the most scientific data that we can get on the subject. Now, everybody is going to react to the volume a little bit differently, but as long as you stay in this range right here, you're going to be perfectly fine. Once you are in that range, you can make slight adjustments. You can add a set here, you can remove a set there, and see how your body reacts to that and how well you recover from that. But overall, let's just go through it, right? This is minimum volume on the very left, and this means that this is the amount of sets that you have to do per week, pushing it close to failure, that your body would need in order to maintain that muscle mass that you already have. So you can see that for back, you have to do at least 8 sets. For biceps, you have to do at least 5, for triceps 4, for calves 6, then for chest you have to do at least 8. And for some of those body parts, they don't require any volume to stay the same size that they are right now, just because you're using them so much in everyday life. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be training them, right? If you want growth, this is not the range that you should be in. Now next is the minimum effective volume. And this means that with this amount of volume, you're going to grow a little bit, all right? If you train super hard, super close to failure on those sets, you can get some growth out of that. But overall, this is not really where you should be at either. With back, you have 10 sets, abs is still 0, because you don't really have to train your abs. Your abs are being activated so much just by doing other exercises as well, because you're constantly sucking in air and then pressing to create that internal tension to have a better output on those exercises. So minimum effective range is still 0 for abs. And for biceps, it's slowly coming up, for triceps as well, and for most of the other exercises too. Moving further down, we have hamstrings with 6 sets, quads with 8, and then rear delts and side delts combined with 8 as well. Same thing for the traps. So many exercises where you're already using your traps a lot. You don't really have to isolate them too much. After that, we have the important range. This is the range that you want to stay in with every single muscle group that you're training. This is your maximum adaptable volume. And this means that this is the sweet spot, okay? This is what your body should be able to recover from if you also have your meal plans in check. So again, make sure to watch that video, and also your recovery, which I'm going to make full video on in the future. But with your maximum adaptable volume, it's more than MEV, right? But this is the sweet spot that you want to be in. As I said at the very beginning, you can experiment here. In the workout program that we have right now, I'm going to fill that out in a second to show you guys what it's going to look like for me based off my experience from the last couple of years. I already know my body pretty well, and I know how much volume my body can take and still recover from and just make the most amount of progress possible. But for you, that might be different. I have everything optimized, my recovery is really on point, and my training is at a point where I'm really able to push myself very close to failure on every single working set. So always keep all of these different factors in mind when you're making the program. But not to overcomplicate it too much. If you start in this range, if you start at the low end of this range, that's the perfect approach to take. And then as you're moving on from week 1 to week 2 to week 3 to week 4, you can start to include another set on a certain exercise and then another set on that exercise the week after, and just see how well your body is able to recover from that volume. Now, next to that, we have the maximum recoverable volume, and this shows you how much your body should be able to recover from if you have that volume per week with recovery right there. So I would not recommend any of you to stay in this range. After that, when it comes to frequency, this again shows you how many times per week you can hit a certain muscle group. And as I said, 2 times per week is totally fine, super effective for any muscle group. But if you want to try out something else, if you want to, hit a muscle group 3 times per week or maybe even 4 times per week, obviously you would have to modify your split in a way that it would actually work. You would have to split up the total volume from 2 sessions into 4 sessions. If we just use the triceps as an example, let's say you're doing 10 sets of triceps per week. If you have 2 workouts like we have right now, you would have maybe 5 sets in one workout and then 5 sets in the next workout. If we split that up into a frequency of 4, you would have 4 workouts in which you're hitting your triceps. You would have 2 exercises in one, 3 in the next, and then 2 in the next, and then 3 in the next. So instead of having that split up into 2 sessions, you would have it split up into 4 sessions. But what I'm going to do now is just fill up that first workout that we have right here completely with sets and rep ranges. I'm going to walk you through how I do this, and then after that I'm going to finish the rest of this workout program. Now for bench, I want to do 3 sets in total. I want to do 2 sets for incline, and then I want to do 3 sets of machine chest flies. After that, for the straight bar push down, I'm going to do 3. For the iso overhead extension, I'm going to do 2. Then for the side laterals, I'm going to do 3. For the machine, I'm going to do 2. And then for the cable crunches, I am going to do 3 sets in total. Now, moving on to the rep ranges, when it comes to that, you want to have a variety of lower rep sets in order to load more weight onto the exercise, and then you also want to work in a higher rep range, which I'm going to cover in the next part of this video. But just so that you have that overview, you want to combine lower rep ranges with higher rep ranges so that you can create that mechanical tension that you get from heavy weights with the ones that you get from lighter weights, and having that combination really gives you, like, again, that sweet spot where you're making the most amount of progress, where you're getting the most stimulus out of your workout program. But for the bench press, you normally want to go pretty heavy on those, so I'm going to do 4 to 6, and then 6 to 8. Now moving on to the incline dumbbell press, I am going to do 4 to 6 on the first set, and then 6 to 8 on the second. On that machine chest fly, I am going to start with 6 to 8, and then 8 to 12 to get a higher rep range in. With the straight bar push downs, I am going to do 6 to 8, and 8 to 12. And overhead extensions, I'm going to do 6 to 8 and 8 to 12 as well. Now, if you're a complete beginner, I wouldn't recommend going with those low rep ranges like I do right here, for example, just because you want to learn that movement first. You want to perfect that movement first. And then once you've truly understand how it works, you can move on to those lower rep ranges and use heavier weights. But if you're already advanced, you can definitely structure it in just this way. Now for the side lateral raises, I'm going to do 6 to 8, and 8 to 12. Then for the side delt machine, I'm going to do 8 to 12. And actually I'm going to include one set 12 to 17. And for the cable crunches, I'm going to do 8 to 12 for each one of those. And that is what the first workout of the split is looking like, completely filled out. Now I'm going to finish up the rest and get back to you guys with the finished product. Okay, and what we have right here is the fully finished product, completely filled out with sets and rep ranges. And obviously I'm going to include this as a resource for you in the description of this video, but I'm not going to use this template right here. I'm going to give you a fully filled out template, which also includes links to my video hub where I do the exercise and explain you how to do it. Also descriptions, tips and notes on those movements, and I'm also going to leave some substitute exercises for you right there, which are going to show you what you could do instead of the exercise that I have in the program. And then next to that, I'm also going to leave you a fully blank page which you can use for yourself in order to create your own workout program if you don't want to use the one that I have in there. But overall, this is going to be a full coaching template that you're going to get. And in that template, you're going to have example meal plans, example workout programs that are fully ready to be executed. You're also going to have your check-in sheets and your client overview page, which I talked about in another video a couple of weeks ago. So if you haven't seen that one yet, go ahead and check it out, because in there I go briefly over all the stuff that I talked about in this video right here. So this right here is the in-depth version And that video I just referred to is kind of the beginner's guide to making your own workout programs, to making your own meal plans, to just getting into the best shape of your life and optimizing everything. But this is really going into the details about how to make your own programs from scratch. Now, with all that being said, this is what we have right here, right? Again, we have variations in the rep ranges. We have about 3 sets, 2 sets on some exercises. This really depends on how much volume you have in total in that workout already. But right here, for example, we have 3 sets of wide grip pull-ups, 3 sets of T-bar rows, where the first 2 sets are 6 to 8, and then the last 2 sets are 8 to 12. And again, you're covering both rep ranges with those reps, right? You're having your heavy weights, which you should still move with good form, and then you have your lighter weights after that. But I'm not going to cover all of this right now. As you can see, you have some exercises where you go into the 12 to 17 rep range, and then you have others where you have the 4 to 6 rep range as well. So the important thing here is just to include all of those rep ranges together to really have the most complete workout program. You see a lot of people, they make workout programs. When you go to a gym for the first time, they will, most likely make a workout program for you, but it's very basic. They will give you a workout program where every single exercise has 3 sets and you're doing 8 to 12 reps, which is okay. It works for a beginner, but this is way more efficient than that. Now, since I'm still in the programs, I'm going to show you real quick how you have to go about those rep ranges, like how you have to train. So using the bench press as an example, right? You're coming in week 1 and you don't really know how much weight you're going to use. So you're just going to pick something that you think will land you in that 4 to 6 rep range, pushing you close to muscular failure. So let's just say we're going to use 225 and we are able to get that for 5 reps. That is great. And this is also exactly the way I would like you to write this down in the workout program, because then you can come back in week 2 and you see exactly what you did. Now, the next set, because you just hit 225 for 5, you would go in and you do 225 again. Now, you might only be able to get it 4 times because you already accumulated some fatigue in that first set, which means that you're not as strong anymore in that second one. Now, for the third set, you're supposed to be in the 6 to 8 rep range, and this means that you would obviously have to drop the weight because you were able to get 5 on the first one, 4 on the second one. You will be unable to get 225 for 6 to 8 reps. So now you're going to go in and go 200 maybe. That's the weight that you're picking. You get 6 reps. That is great. Now you have all the data from week 1, and then when you come back in week 2 and do the same workout again, you can read this, and then your goal is to push the weight to the top of the rep range. So in this case, you would use 225 again, but instead of going for 5 reps again, you just push as hard as you can on that day to make progress. That is always the goal that you have. You want to make progress from one week to the other. You want to get either more reps or more weight at a certain point. But now we're aiming for more reps. So because you have recovered in between those sessions, you should be able to move this weight for more reps. So let's say now you're able to get 7 reps, which puts us above the top of the rep range, which is 4 to 6, right? On the next one, instead of 4 reps, you're able to get 6, just at the top of the rep range. And then here, 200, you were able to get 9. Now, on all of those sets, you are either at the top of the rep range or above the rep range that we're supposed to be in. And because of that, when you come back in week 3, you're able to increase the weight slightly. That would be the next step, because if you continue using 225 here, at some point you would do 10 reps, 11 reps, 12 reps, but we don't want that. We want to stay in that rep range to create that mechanical tension with the heavy weight. Now, as I said, you're going to increase the weight. So instead of 225, you're going to up to 235. And because of that weight increase, you're probably not going to be able to do 7 reps again. You might only be able to do 5, which is totally fine. On the next set, you go to 235 as well. and this might set you back to 4 reps. And then on the last one here, you can go to 210. This might set you back to 7 reps. And now the whole thing repeats itself over and over and over again, right? You get the point. Now it would be the goal to push 235 to 6 or 7 or 8, however many reps you can get in that workout. And once you get to the top of the rep range again, then you increase the weight slightly. And by doing this, you're constantly giving your body the signal that it needs to adapt. If we're not doing this, if we're just using the same weights all the time, your body doesn't have any reason to grow more muscle. You have to give it the impulse, you have to signal your body that you need more muscle because you're trying to move more weight at the gym. So that is what you have to do, and this principle is called progressive overload. And if you do this with the workout program, you're going to grow like crazy, like you've never done before. But this only works if you combine it with the right meal plans and the right recovery, which again I'm going to cover in the future. The meal plans, I already have a structured guideline on that uploaded on my channel. Now let's move on to the next step. So with this workout program, our entire goal is just hypertrophy, meaning muscle growth. And there's a lot of debate on, when a rep range is going into that hypertrophic range where it actually produces muscle growth. But studies have shown that it starts all the way down there at 3 reps. If you're using the right exercise, the amount of 3 reps can also stimulate muscle growth if you're executing it right, if you're using the right time under tension, range of motion, and so on. But in general, the best rep range to stay in is anywhere between 6 to 12 reps. Now, as I explained to you already, on some sets you should work in that lower rep range, and then on some sets you should work in that higher rep range. And by combining those two together, you really get the most complete workout program. Because by using those rep ranges, you're able to create a lot of mechanical tension on the muscle, and you're able to use relatively heavy weights that are still controllable, right? If you're going for 6 reps and your goal is to train to failure, let's say, we're using that on the hack squat, you're able to load that up with pretty much a lot of weight. By staying in that rep range, we're able to create a lot of mechanical tension on the muscle, and we can use relatively heavy weights on certain movements while still using a good technique, right? That's the first thing that you have to understand. The technique comes before the weight, but once you have mastered the technique, you can go into a set of hack squat and go for that 6 to 8 rep range. You can load up that machine pretty heavily and you can push yourself pretty hard on those 6 reps, and this is going to create an insane amount of stimulus for muscle growth. But you obviously have to combine those 2 rep ranges together to get the most complete workout program, as I explained earlier. Now, there is a difference between strength training and hypertrophy training. With strength specific training, which I've also done in the past, I've done powerlifting, I've competed in a powerlifting competition myself. It is different because you want to approach training with more periodization, and periodization means that you're working with blocks. So in hypertrophy, you can use this workout program that you have right here for weeks and months on end without having to change anything. Really, at some point you will probably feel burned out because over time your body is just accumulating fatigue that it can't really reduce anymore, even though you have those rest days. So at some point you would probably have to take a deload or a couple of days of no training to actually give your body the time to recover. But this would probably happen after only 3 months of running this program. With powerlifting, however, you have to work in training blocks, meaning that you have about 4 weeks per block, where in week 1 you start off pretty light with your squats, bench and deadlift, and then it ramps up over the weeks. It gets more intense. In week 3 the intensity is getting there, and in week 4 it's pretty hard for you and also for your central nervous system. And that's the main reason that After those 4-week blocks, you need one deload week where you're just dropping the weight by about 20 to 30% depending on how fatigued you feel, and then you go into your next powerlifting block. And this just allows you to really recover from the block that you just did. You grow, your strength increases, and then in that next block your body is fully adapted to the block that you just did. But I'm going to do another video only on that topic in the future, because right now we are fully concentrating on hypertrophy. I just wanted to give you that overview real quick because I think it's important to know the difference between strength training and hypertrophy training. But the cool thing is that even when you're training for strength, you're still in that, rep range that builds muscle. As I just explained, 3 reps, you're building muscle with that rep range if you're executing the exercise right. And when you're doing powerlifting, you're not always working in those super low rep ranges. There's going to be blocks where you start off with 5 reps on squats and 6 reps in your back off sets, and the same thing applies to bench press. On deadlift you might start off lower, but generally speaking you're still moving around in that rep range that creates muscle growth, unless you're going for 1 rep maxes or doubles. And that's also why a lot of powerlifters, when they are actually in shape, they look crazy because they move those heavy weights with precision, and this just creates a lot of stimulus for muscle growth as well. Lastly, we need to talk about your lifting technique and the way you approach working out. As I've mentioned multiple times throughout this video, the intensity plays a crucial role in how well you're going to grow using this workout program, but then also any other workout program that you are going to run in the future, or the one that you're going to make yourself after watching this video. So intensity should be our main priority after the right lifting technique. All right, this is the very most important thing, getting the lifting technique right. If there is an exercise that you haven't done before, watch a YouTube video on it. Watch a video of myself, in the workout program that I'm going to give you. There's going to be videos, but watch a video on how to do that exercise right. And for the first 2 weeks, that's going to be your full focus, to get that exercise right. All right, all the small details. You want to make sure that you're doing this exercise perfectly. When I work with my coaching clients, we have something that is called video analysis. And with that video analysis, they can send over videos of themselves working out, and then I go over that video and explain to them what they need to do differently in order to get the lifting technique right. And especially at the very start, when people haven't done a coaching before, this comes in super valuable, because that way we can make sure that they are training right. And it usually takes around 2 to 3 weeks to get the technique right. Now, with the technique also comes range of motion and time under tension. Range of motion means that you're actually going deep enough. You're actually creating enough stretch on a muscle. All right. You've probably seen 100 people at your gym doing squats or a leg press, but they don't go all the way down. I'm going to play a clip right here of myself. Like, this is how low you should go on a leg press, for example, because the lower you go, the more stretch is actually created on your muscle, and again, the more stimulus is being produced. When you compare this range of motion that I'm doing right there to someone only doing like a half rep, 1 rep of me doing that is creating more stimulus than 2 reps that this person is doing. So instead of doing those half reps and trying to move more weight, do the full range of motion, and then you can still increase your weight, and you're going to grow so much faster than all these people at your gym only doing half reps, not using the right range of motion. Now, the next point when it comes to lifting technique is time under tension. You have to understand that when you're lifting, the eccentric part of the motion, where you're lowering the weight down, that's when most growth is happening, because your muscle is getting stretched out. For example, when you're squatting down on a hack squat, that is the eccentric part. When you're being pulled forward on a row, that is the eccentric part. And your main objective now is to go super slow and controlled on that eccentric part, because it is creating the most stimulus out of the whole movement. So control that eccentric, and then on the way up, you can go a little bit faster. You can use some of that explosiveness. Obviously, you should still control the exercise when you're pushing back up, but you can go faster. And if you have a slow eccentric and then an explosive concentric, that is the absolute best way to train, and that is what time under tension is. So make sure that you're using it. In between the eccentric and the concentric, you have your turning points. So when you're all the way pressed down on a leg press, for example, and when you're all the way extended with your legs, you want to make sure on all of these exercises that are mainly for muscle growth that you're not coming to a full stop at the bottom and not at the top either. So you want to have constant tension on the target muscle, because if you're giving away that tension, your muscle isn't, under stretch anymore. And this is just a small detail that over time, if you do it in every single workout, it's going to equate to more growth in general. So make sure that you keep the target muscle under constant tension when you're working out. Now, those are the very most important things when it comes to your lifting technique. So obviously, first, just getting the movement right, then increasing the range of motion to a certain point where it still makes sense, time under tension, and then also keeping that constant pressure on the target muscle. Now, after or while you're perfecting the technique, your goal is also to increase the intensity. And as I've mentioned multiple times in this video, your goal is to train close to muscular failure, meaning that you're maintaining that perfect lifting technique. All right, you want to train as close to perfection as possible, and you want to keep that up throughout the whole set. Every single repetition should look the same, but then as you're getting to the end of your set, you're going to notice that the reps are going to slow down. It's going to be so much harder for you to push the weight back up, still using that perfect lifting technique. And that's when you're getting closer to muscular failure. Now, as you're getting closer, your goal is to keep pushing even through the pain, even when it gets super hard. And at some point, it would be impossible for you to complete another repetition with that good form. And that is when muscular failure is kicking in. So you want to get as close to that point as possible on every single working set, and working with the right amount of sets per week, you're only going to get those sets, right? So you have to make them count. And if you don't train close to muscular failure, you're again leaving some room for growth in the tank. And after you've also mastered the intensity, that is when you can slowly start increasing the weight again. Obviously, if you're making rapid progress in your workouts, you can start increasing the weight once you've gotten to the top of the rep range. But it is very important that you first focus on the lifting technique, on everything that comes with that. Then you focus on the intensity, or alongside that, you focus on the intensity. And once you've understood all of this, and once you're able to move the weight in a very effective way, that's when you add more weight. And all of this is a skill that you develop over time. You're not going to start out with perfect technique. You're not going to start out with perfect intensity, but over time, you're going to develop this skill. And as you get better with the training, the more fun it's going to be, and the more effective your working sets are going to be as well. Now, I've been training for over 5 years, seriously, right, at this point, and I'm still learning. I'm still improving my lifting technique and my time under tension and all of these things that allow me to grow more than other people out there. So make sure that all of this information that you've just gotten, right, this is stuff that I've learned through trial and error myself. Use this information, actually use it and apply it to your own workouts, because if you do, you're going to be so much further ahead than all of these people around you, and your friends are going to ask you for advice because they want to make as much progress as you're making right now. And before I forget, there's one more thing that is also important when it comes to the training. That is your rest times in between your working sets. So I don't necessarily like to work with set rest times. This can help if you're having problems, just staying still in between sets. But what you should do is complete your first working set, right? Just complete that set, go as close to failure as possible. And once you've completed that set, that is your rest period in between that set and the next set. What you want to do is just Wait until you feel ready again. Wait until, you feel like you can produce as much force as you did in that first set. You can work as close to failure as you did in that first set. And obviously, you shouldn't wait for 10 minutes in between sets, right? Especially when you're training for muscle growth. But in general, your rest times can be anywhere from 60 to 120 seconds or even longer than that. 60 might even be, a little too low. I like to rest for at least 90 seconds in between my working sets. Probably even more than that, but I never have like a stopwatch to check how much time is passing in between sets. I'm just waiting to be ready again, to feel like I can move a lot of weight with good form, with high intensity on that next working set, and that is when I go in. So a good indicator is you're, breathing, just being back to normal, you're not feeling as fatigued anymore, and then you can go in and hit that next set. When you're powerlifting, however, your rest times could and they also should be much longer, because here the goal is really to be fully rested before you go into your next set. So say you complete your first set of squats, which is also a very hard exercise to recover from, right? So you do your first set and you go with strength. You can rest up to 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes in between those sets and then go into your next. Now again, with strength, it's different. Just make sure that you feel ready going into that next set. And there's a difference between muscle groups as well. Lower body exercises will require you to rest longer in between sets, just because they are way more taxing on your system in general. And then for upper body exercises, you don't have to rest as long. Now in general, the bigger the muscle group, the longer the rest time should be. So your arms and your side delts don't need as much rest as your chest or back. But most important is just that you have the maximum output in every single working set that you do at the gym. Now you know every single detail that you need in order to make your own workout programs from scratch. And the best thing about it is that you can customize it to your individual goals. You can, build it around your current lifestyle, around your work schedule. You could include the exercises that you really like, or you could exclude the ones that you cannot do. And there's just nothing else anymore that would hold you back from getting onto the perfect workout program for yourself. Now, unfortunately, the workout program alone isn't going to get you into the best shape of your life. You also have to take care of your nutrition and your recovery. But as I've mentioned multiple times throughout this video, I already have a step-by-step guide on the meal plans uploaded on my channel, and the recovery video is coming in soon as well. So make sure that if you haven't seen those videos yet, after watching this workout program video, that you watch these and also take notes on these, because you have to combine that in order to make the same progress that I'm making and the same progress that my coaching clients are making. But I'm giving you all this information for free, okay? I'm already giving it out to you. This is like all that I've learned over the last couple of years. And now it's really up to you to actually use this information to your advantage. People are paying thousands of dollars in order to get this information from someone. They're buying books, they're buying coachings, they're buying all this stuff in the hopes of getting this information. But I'm giving it out for free. So please use it. I want you to make more progress than ever before. That is why I am making those videos. I know how much it changed my life, how much confidence it has given me. So that is why I am helping you out to do the same thing right here. So please go ahead, use the templates I leave in the video description and the information that I gave you in this video, and apply it to your own life. And then also let me know how well this has worked for you. And obviously you can also reach out to me in the comment section of this video or in my Instagram DMs to ask me questions if you have any. And if you truly have what it takes and want to take things to the next level, if you want everything customized to you individually and everything optimized to the last detail, I just opened up more coaching spots for my one-on-one coaching, where we work closely together as a team to accomplish your goals. As I said, everything will be optimized and customized to your current situation, and along the way I will help you with my video feedback and with constant feedback in general on how you're doing, and I'm going to make adjustments to your programs over time to make sure that we're never plateauing. So we will be making progress throughout the entirety of this coaching, and you will walk out a completely different person, like so many of my coaching clients have already done. So if you really want to make this positive change in your life, you can now click the first link in the description of this video to book a call with me. I will talk to you guys in the next one. Take care.